Hello and welcome back to Eastenders Weekly, your one and only podcast all about EastEnders. This week we'll be discussing episodes from the 23rd to the 27th of July. And we've got a very special episode this week.
Yes, very exciting. We've had such a busy week, so sorry that we've been a bit behind with social media and a few bits and pieces. But we got to interview Rebecca Scroggs, who played Tosh in EastEnders.
Yes, Tina's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
So we've got a really good interview with her. She was really friendly, wasn't she?
Really, she was great. Really great to talk to her. And we interrupted her holiday in order to get the interview. So we've got that coming up. We've split it into two parts, and it'll come a little bit later on. It's our I'm doing this now segment this week.
And it was really great for her to do it, and she was all game for everything we had for her. So yeah, it's a really good interview, so I hope you like it. But before then, we're going to talk about what happened on the square this week. So we're going to start off with Kat and Hayley, who had their own sort of storyline going on this week.
Well, the Slaters kind of monopolised the stories this week because they had two storylines.
I know, two for each.
Two for the price of one.
But the Slaters are.
But Kat basically has decided that she wants to make more of an effort to try to see her kids, try to be a better mum, and try to convince perhaps Alfie to come back and become one family again. And her main plan is to get herself more jobs in the cleaning sector so she can study for her knowledge and then earn lots and lots of money.
Yes, that's right. Because her knowledge isn't quite as good as she thought it was this week.
What of the London streets? No, because she
only knows Albert Square, basically.
Yes.
Like everyone on Wolford. That's all she needs to know.
Well, yeah, just turn left down Turpin Road and you're there.
And then she obviously asks Ian for a job helping to clean the restaurant as well this week.
Yeah, because he's just had some air conditioning installed, and as we all know, the air conditioning kind of pumps out the air to make it colder, but it also adds more dust to the environment.
Yes,
and
because she went over to see the restaurant and it was all covered in sheets.
Dust sheets, yes.
Didn't expect it to do that big of a job.
But she didn't. She thought it'd be a nice quick spit and polish. She convinced Ian that you'll be able to eat off the floor. So if you're overwhelmed with customers one day, you can seat them on the floor and they can eat their burger or their fusion, I should say. It's not a burger joint anymore, it's a fusion with Masood.
Wolford East.
Wolford East.
It's the official name. We've seen the logo now and everything. She also spent some time stealing money from her family this week.
Yes, that was from the kitty jar. She stole money because, obviously going back to when we were saying that she wasn't quite as knowledgeable of the London roads as she first thought. She had a very narrow view on London, it being Wolford. She bought a moped with all the money that was in the kitty jar, which was meant for emergency. So you can imagine that went down like cold sick.
Poor Jean.
I know.
They're not thinking of her money she gave them.
She does so much for them.
Although Jean's not thinking about that either, but we'll get to that later.
Well, she was thinking about it though when she noticed the kitty jar was empty. The scene was brilliant. Like the first shot was of the kitty jar on the table, and then you just saw the wide shot.
Sat around, trying to work out who stole it.
Detective Mo, she had her deer stalker on, ready to work out who it was.
She was totally wrong.
She was. I tell you who was right though. Hayley.
Hayley, yeah.
Hayley.
She knew.
She knew, but because she'd previously had a conversation with Kat, hadn't she, about not knowing the knowledge, and it was Hayley's first suggestion that she should get herself a little scooter so she can, because Kat came back from doing a bit of a research around the streets and got stuck at some roadworks, and was like, nope, I'm done. I'm not done.
Giving up.
That's it. That's me done.
Well, I did think, are they going to make her pass this exam in like 2 weeks? We thought they'd rush it, but that was...
Well, I know, because they made such a big deal about how it's going to be 2 years or 3 years. And you and I both turned to each other and we went, are they actually going to have her pass this exam in 2 weeks? Hurry the storyline along. And
poor Keanu's being used again this week.
I mean, Keanu was used by the Slaters, and later on we'll discuss how he was used for a second story. I mean, he's really beginning to develop into quite...
Too trusting, isn't he?
He's trusting...
You can't say no.
I mean...
Does Phil know about all this free work he's doing in the...
That's it, isn't it? He's doing all this free work. Every time someone comes into the cafe and he's buying himself a bacon sandwich, someone's like, oh no, something's happened to my car. And he's like that, bring it
Pop
in.
It round,
I'll have a look.
Sharon won't have any of that, will she?
She'll won't.
Bend him over her knee. Possible storyline for the future.
Who knows?
Little smack.
I think you're writing this storyline.
But I mean, Kat obviously feels guilty about this, so she does eventually admit she stole the money. But all the Slaters seem to be like, it's fine. and they won't snap at her, and she wants them to like have a go at her, doesn't she, on the doorstep?
But it's the Slater way, isn't it? I think, well, it's the Eastenders
how
way.
You're welcome to the family.
It was the only way you can resolve a problem is by shouting very loudly at one another.
Because Hayley wasn't welcomed as a Slater until they all had a go at her.
Yes, and then they supported her against
exactly.
Keanu.
Yeah.
I mean, Keanu did bring some good points of the fact that he, he spent his own money for a toolkit, which they'd stole, or Hayley had stole, then used his hat as a cleaning device for the car, and yet still said he would look after the moped for Kat, and then fixed it up for her. Although there was a really good scene later on when they're driving around the square, and it looked a bit like Easy Rider, like Kat was on the back with hugging Keanu, and she kind of drove off.
There's so many love interest potentials here with Keanu being set up.
I mean, Keanu is the hottest, let's be honest, on the square at the moment.
There's 3 of them now. There's possible Kat, possible Hayley, possible Sharon.
Do you reckon that Kat and Hayley storyline could develop with Keanu?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking because obviously we know Hayley's baby is Alfie's.
Yes.
Hayley and Keanu are going to get together, and then Kat's going to cheat with Keanu to like get revenge on what she did to her and Alfie.
Oh, goodness.
Something like that is what I was thinking could be developing. But then there's a Sharon in the mix as well.
Well, yes, we learnt this
blonde
week.
bombshell.
We learnt this week that there's a storyline developing between Keanu and Shirley. Goodness me. Can you imagine?
What, Sharon and Shirley?
No, Keanu and Shirley.
Oh.
He'd have himself ripped apart.
No,
by
he'd have
poor
himself apart no matter what's going to happen,
Yeah,
I
true,
think.
true.
Bless him.
So she can't sell off the moped. She's admitted it to the family. Everyone's fine. They said, if it's for the greater good of the family, not a problem.
And then we go on to her job at Wolford East.
Yes.
So an all-nighter they pull, and she gets Hayley to sort of help.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, she's really overwhelmed by it, and Hayley comes to visit her because Hayley wants to help out with
sandwiches.
Yes. She wants to help out with the sandwiches, and also just learning the knowledge. She sees Kat and her could do it together. Maybe they could, learn the knowledge together.
Yeah, there's real bonding this week over Kat and Hayley.
I know, it's just
obviously
it's setting
building
up, isn't it?
To
a catastrophe that's further down the line when the secret is out. I mean, again, the Slaters like to have their free swig of drink while they're doing their cleaning.
No one notices, do they?
Mel
noticed.
Oh yeah, God. Because don't forget, Mel notices everything that's happening in her world, apart from with Hunter.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, so
I've seen Hunter for a few weeks, so I kind of forgot about him.
He's probably at that summer school, isn't he? Being good.
The one that she kept threatening him.
Yeah.
With. Maybe. Yeah, they do a good job with Ian. He's actually surprised. Hayley's distracting him while she finishes the toilets. Kat finishes the toilets. But he can't find a speck of dust anywhere, so it's all looking good.
He can't. Well, and Kat did threaten him and said that, I've taken photographs of the whole place. And they did have you say they pulled an overnight. They drank a lot, but they also had energy drink and jam donuts, which Hayley supplied. So, a lot of sugar, a lot of alcohol. I reckon
I'm guessing Hayley wasn't drinking in front of Kat.
Oh, well,
did she?
Well, that's true, because Kat kind of woken up and she said, "Oh, drinking this and the other." So I suppose Hayley wouldn't have.
No, she had water.
Yeah, but then again, that's very suspicious. A lot of suspicious things have happened and continue to happen around her and Kat.
And they have quite a nice chat in the living room, and they're all sort of inviting her to be part of the family. And Hayley's kind of feeling guilty and sort of saying to Kat, I don't think I'm going to hang around here. You're not my scene, sort of thing. Yeah,
it's a bit sad, really, because Kat offers her a cleaning job and then to continue studying the knowledge together. And almost as a visual gesture, she splits the sandwich and hands it over to Hayley. And Hayley's, quite grateful for it. And first of all, she says, "Yeah, well, then I'm in." She then has a bite of her sandwich and then runs off being sick. Again, Kat kind of sits there looking a bit like, this is very odd behaviour. You think
all these women who have like 1,000 kids between them would notice now that she's pregnant.
Yeah, they've already fat-shamed her.
I mean, it's coming out, I think, next week. Someone finds out she's pregnant from the Slaters. I won't say who, but...
Ooh. Well, because they've just shown a new trailer, haven't they? Because that's another thing they've started doing. They've started showing trailers for like a month ahead.
Trailers.
Yeah, for a whole month ahead.
And it's all like thunderstorms.
Yeah, because the last trailer they played, everyone expected that to be the whole of the summer season, and it was done in 2 weeks. So I guess this will be happening again. I mean, Hayley walked back in, and she was holding back the tears. You could tell that she
because all the family was sat around like cackling.
Yeah,
and Stacey kind of gestured in a Slater way. She called her like a grotty or something.
Grotty,
like,
yeah.
You're going to come in...
You grotty cow, wasn't it?
Grotty face, which is like a really nice thing for a Slater to say. So sort of inviting them into the room to be part of the family, but she sort of just turned around and was like, nah. But she obviously wants to, but she obviously knows she's done this thing with Alfie.
Well, she does her lip smack, doesn't she?
She does.
Her trademark. But you can tell, like you say, she's just holding back the tears and she wants to stay, but she can't. She knows that staying around is going to be a huge mistake in the long run. And it's as you say, it's going to come out. The fallout, I'm a bit worried about. I think it's going to be a heck of a fallout between her and Kat, especially since Kat's let down her guard now and opened up to Hayley. And Kat doesn't do that for everyone. No. She's a very guarded person, especially over the years.
She's going to be let down again.
Because she's been let down so much as a character, and now her own family is now letting her down in the most atrocious way.
I mean, on Twitter, Mike said, Kat and Hayley making friends won't last. Wait until Kat finds out about her and Alfie's baby. And there are a lot of comments like that saying, this when this is revealed, it's gonna Kat Slater's not the calmest of characters, so it's gonna really go. I think Hayley's quite fiery as well.
Yeah, it's gonna escalate into something quite nasty. I mean,
I'm sure there'll be Big Mo in the background
ringing the bell. Yeah. I mean, in a way I don't want it to happen, but I've got a horrible suspicion that there might be some kind of fight between Kat and Hayley which could cause a miscarriage. Do you think that's something that might happen?
Yeah, because I don't want another baby on the square. There's so many people with babies.
Sick of babies.
Well, it just ties the characters down, doesn't it, when they have...
Well, who's pregnant? Kim's pregnant?
Kim, Hayley.
And there is a third, or am I mistaken? Oh, baby Abby's, they're fighting for baby
Abby. Yeah,
so no one's
and then
pregnant.
Stacey has like 2 babies, and it's just like...
Stacey's the most fertile. She's so fertile with Stacey.
The babies really tie the characters down story-wise, and Hayley could have loads of wild storylines if she... wasn't pregnant. So.
I mean, all Stacey has to do is touch Martin, and she's like, "Man, I'm
touch
pregnant."
Anyone.
Well, yeah,
the only one that's not managed it is Max somehow.
He's safe, you see. He always plays it safe. All the women he sleeps with, he knows to put something on the end of it.
Better than his brother Jack, anyway.
Well, Jack's got loads of kids.
Exactly. He's not safe.
No.
So yeah, going from that storyline, we're going to go on to probably my least favourite storyline of the week, but one of my favourite scenes, but because it was so bad. We're going to talk about Robbie and his depression, and obviously Kush and Martin trying to lift his spirits.
And a little cameo by Sonia.
Yes. I mean, we open up with Carmel in a taxi going on holiday, so that's sort of written this week out for her.
Yes, that was basically saying
she's having a spa weekend with Denise.
She is, so Denise wasn't there either. So
Kush is all alone.
The lads are unleashed. And and Martin's like, "Oh, let's have a drinking night." And Kush is like, yeah, that'd be good because there's no one in the house, no mum, no Shaki. And
Martin's really like stupid saying that.
Yeah, Martin, like, as soon as he says that, it kind of thinks, oh dear, yeah, I put my foot in it already. Meanwhile, Robbie is obviously not in the happiest of states either.
No, everyone's noticed Donna's not opened her stool. Jay walks past all moody, like, yeah, she's not home either. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so he's got all this rent.
I mean, Jay's the only one staying there now.
I know. He needs to get out.
4 rooms. Is there 4 rooms in that place?
Yeah. So they all go over to see Robbie because he won't get out of bed or won't get off the sofa. He's very upset. It's a very dark room. He's,
every time he thinks of anything, he thinks about Donna. He's when he's recovering in the cafe, he's eating a bacon sandwich and he gestures. This isn't how Donna would have made it. Donna made it better.
So ridiculous. When this was happening and Robbie was depressed or upset, I was just thinking, oh, for God's sake, just hurry up and be happy. And then at the end of the week, when he was happy again, I was like, I hate you again anyway. He just can't win with me. I mean, he's so annoying when he's happy, and he's really annoying when he was depressed. But I think I preferred him when he was depressed.
Well, I preferred him when he was with Donna because he had a purpose. There was a purpose for him at that point. But you're quite open also in saying that you wish that Robbie was the one who'd gone and Donna had stayed.
Yeah, much better. Much better outcome.
I mean, it would have been, and,
Poor Robbie.
You never know. Robbie might find love again. And he might end up actually renting a room from Jay.
The storyline looks like he's going back to his career-driven story arc.
Well, the market
that was one of my predictions. I wrote an article for Wolford East.
Yes, you did.
Which is a Facebook, and that was one of my options. That will be his future storyline when Donna leaves. Happened straight away. So
it's almost as if you knew.
You read it there first.
Yeah.
Check it out. And I also found it interesting that Sonia mentioned his ex-wife, and she was like, he wasn't even this upset.
Yes.
And it's like, really? He has a kid with her.
Yes, exactly.
And he wasn't this upset.
Yeah. But I suppose their relationship was long. The one with Donna was a short relationship, and I think short relationships, you always think what could have been. While if a relationship's a long relationship, it kind of fizzles out. It's not quite so bad.
I mean, Robbie was being quite selfish and sort of saying all this stuff to Kush, and Kush was just sitting on the chair like,
Well, yes, on Tuesday, Kush, when he went to comfort Robbie, but which we must mention, Sonia was on nights.
Because people get knocking on the door.
Yeah, it was always like, I'm on nights!
So she's awake waiting to say it. Very light sleeper.
Very light. And Robbie's hiding under like a blanket, like a child making a little fort. Although I think your favourite scene had passed before any of this happened, because Robbie made a little visit to McClunky's, didn't he?
And he was just staring at the shop window, and Sonia was like, are you okay? And he was just staring at a Donna sign.
Donna kebab. It was a neon sign. And the only part that flashed was the Donna part. I mean, did they actually have that made specially for that one scene?
Just ridiculous.
It was.
Who in the writer's room came up with that? I want to know.
I suppose desperate Robbie is
Who was sat round being... Should we have him look at a sign of Donna? What does everyone think? Yeah, we'll put it in.
Yeah, Donna kebab.
That makes the final cut. Just ridiculous. Although everyone online found it funny, so...
Yeah, but you're not meant to... Are you meant to find it funny? I think you're meant to... You're meant to feel some kind of attachment to Robbie for that. Like, poor Robbie.
And she was like, it's not even spelt the same, Robbie.
No, I know. I love that she pointed that out.
Yeah, she had to point it out.
It's not even spelt the same, Robbie.
Bless him. So, he's all down in the dumps.
Back at Dots.
Yeah, they do sort of mention, it would be good if you were... Remember when you were market inspector, you had all that vigour and we all hated you and you wore a suit.
And we loved it.
Yeah. So that sort of brings him out of his thing a little bit.
Well, they arrange a fake inspection day because they gather the whole market up together and they say, right, everyone, we're going to tell Robbie there's a fake inspection coming up, and his high-vis vest is the only thing that can make this market inspection pass. And everyone's like, yeah, we're in. So it convinces Robbie, though. He gets out of his slump. He's out. He's all dressed up in his Wolford council gear, ready with his broom, ready to go.
And he turns all cocky again. This automatically upsets Martin and Kush. They make fun of him.
Yes.
And he stood right behind him.
Yes.
Gets all upset.
He gets upset again because they also leak, without knowing that Robbie's behind them, that the inspection was a ruse to get him out of bed.
And he takes it really to heart. He's like, Martin, we were family once. Like, all right, Robbie. Dig that up. God.
So Martin and Kush are licking their wounds on the final day of the week, and they decide that the only way to get Robbie back on their side is to organise Robbie a little vacation.
Lad's holiday.
It didn't start off as a lad's holiday.
But that's how it ended.
But again, they decided to put themselves into the equation.
I mean, you can tell it's the summer period because everyone's off on holiday. All the actors are popping off for a week here and there and coming back really tanned.
Although that's realistic because it is August, that's when everyone goes away. Mm-hmm. All the kids are off school, annoying their parents.
So Martin, on Jean's storyline, he sort of said yes to his christening, goes back to Stacey and says, I'm off on holiday now.
Yes.
So you arranged this christening all by yourself, the one that you didn't even want.
The one that I wanted, you didn't want, and now I'm going and you can arrange.
So that annoyed her a bit, but
she was fine.
She said yes.
Well, she said on Monday you need to make sure that you're up and ready to do all the work. Yeah. I mean, I'm foreseeing a storyline on Monday morning when Martin either comes back from the holiday early Monday morning, hungover, feeling a bit withdrawn.
Or they lost their passport, so one of them had to stay longer because one had a longer holiday than the other.
Oh, yes. I mean,
the plus side, Robbie's gone for a few days.
Yes, but it's over the weekend.
Martin and Kush are gone, so...
but it's over the weekend, so we're not going to miss Robbie. In fact, Robbie will probably be the only one who didn't lose his passport.
Yeah, he'll be the one that comes back.
But they did make the mistake, didn't they? They were meant to go to Belfast and they're going to Belgrave, so anything can happen in Belgrave.
They are. And then just a few comments on our Twitter. One from Jennifer saying, Robbie looking at the Donna sign. It's not even spelt the same. Funniest thing ever.
It was good.
Beth says, why is Robbie acting like a spoilt kid when Kush has actually had his brother taken away from him?
I mean, that's the thing. When we actually kind of went over it really quickly, but the scene when Robbie is hiding under the blanket and Kush is just staring into the distance, it was, I think Robbie should have read the room a little bit at that point and thought, hang on.
He thinks about himself, doesn't he?
I know, but he should have thought about others at that point? You must have known. Well, it took Martin to tell him. He's like, oh, well, Robbie, there are worse things that can happen. And Robbie's like, maybe, yeah.
Better put my suit on. So yeah, that's half the week now sorted up. So we're just going to go for a little break now and go over to our exclusive interview.
Yes, so
with Tosh.
With Tosh. So yes, this was an interview we did earlier in the week with Rebecca Scroggs, and this first part of the interview we talk about her early career and we talk about her character of Tosh in EastEnders. So hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just do this now.
Right, so this week we have a special edition of I'm Doing This Now. We are joined by Rebecca Scroggs, who played Fiona McIntosh, or better known as Tosh, in EastEnders from the 25th of February to the 11th of December 2014. Hello, Rebecca. Thank you again for joining us.
Hi, that's absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we're going to talk about EastEnders a little bit in a while, but to start off, we're going to talk about how you kind of got the acting bug to start with. Was it something that you did at school, or was there an amateur dramatics group you went to when you were younger?
I just fell in love with acting. I mean, it's really cliched, but it was the school play when I was top year of primary school. I got on stage and I just instantly had this feeling. And even in the rehearsals, such as they were, I was like, I can do this. I just, maybe it was grandiosity, felt like I knew what I wanted to do and felt like I could, you feel like you're good at something. And it went from there. But I didn't actually get involved in I was quite a shy child, actually. Maybe that's another thing about going on stage. It was like, felt very daring. But when I realised I could cope with it, it was great. But I didn't do much. I went to a few Saturday drama classes, but it kind of stayed quite low-key in me until I got to about GCSE when you do drama. And we did a lot of devising work and making up plays based on issues. And I really fell in love with the idea of theatre as a way to communicate ideas, explore, have a point of view. So, I sort of set my heart on working in the theatre and decided to go to university because I also was a student of languages. I studied French and I didn't want to I wanted to do it all. I just thought I want to go to university, I want to study theatre in a sort of theoretical context, like the history of theatre, and I want to do my French, and then I'm going to go to drama school, and luckily it worked out. Luckily it did. So
Yeah. Have you ever done any plays in French, or was that something you did at university?
No, well, when I went to study in France for a year, I read some plays in French, and where I did a theatre class there. Wasn't really acting because it was acting, but it wasn't. It was again, we were studying the plays, we'd read the bits out. And I've done a couple of readings of French pieces over the years, but I've never acted properly. I'd love to. Why not?
never acted properly.
in French, I mean. Like, yeah.
Oh, right. Because you've done a few plays, haven't you, prior to when you did EastEnders?
Yeah, most of my work was actually in theatre, really. So when I left drama school, I think I've done plays at the National Theatre, a Tricycle, Soho, toured some Shakespeare around the country a few years ago. Was it in Birmingham? I'm about to go to Sheffield to do a play in a couple of weeks. So, and I studied at drama school where mostly you're learning theatre craft. So it just kind of felt more at home. But TV is something I love doing and has come in more and more as my career goes on. And it's always really exciting. Been lucky to play some very interesting characters such as Tosh. That was a real.
Oh yes, Tosh is a very complex character, wasn't she? In EastEnders?
Yeah, really layered.
Yeah,
she had that real layer to her where she wasn't just that outright villain, was she? She had that softer side to her, which the audience saw. Was that quite important for you, playing Tosh?
Well, definitely, because it was important. I felt when the storyline was sort of presented to me, I jumped at the chance to explore such a complex, difficult issue as domestic violence, and as well as with the same-sex angle in there as well, which hadn't been done before. And it was important to me that she was a complex character because these are always complex situations. And by complex, and I don't mean that we need to feel sorry for her. I was very comfortable with inhabiting all her worst qualities and really digging into the pain. Yeah, well, the pain and justification that she finds in herself to be cruel to Tina. I was very comfortable with that, but I felt it was important to make her a human being because sometimes it can be, I think it's simplistic to think violence is always a very clear cut, in that there's a very, very bad person doing bad things. sometimes someone who means well can become very dark and do really awful things. So yeah, it was important to me that there was balance, nuance, I guess. There were layers.
Yeah. The layers, exactly. There's because they kind of investigate the layers of Tosh when you first meet her mother, because when she has a meal which Tina sets up with Tosh and Tosh's mum, you learn that Tosh had a difficult or a kind of frosty relationship between her and her mother.
Yeah, I mean the sort of backstory there is that Tosh and Tina have had a very different experience of being LGBT. Like Tosh has not been accepted by her family, whereas the Carters all very okay with Tina's sexuality, of course, and very loving and nurturing family, all by and large, even though they're a bit crazy, but they love it. Say that again, sorry.
Everyone on the square seems a bit crazy though. So
yeah, you've got to be a little bit crazy. No, in a fantastic way. There's a lot of drama going on, but essentially Carters are a loving family, and Tosh hasn't had that, and that pain and that alienation from her mother, her rejection, her father, is one of the driving reasons behind her anger, her anger and her need to lash out, and I think also her resentment of Tina, because even though she said she was in love with Tina, obviously she wasn't really, because really she was trying to. I think by being with Tina, she felt like, by being with someone who was essentially a very good person, I think Tosh felt better about herself. She was drawn to Tina's light because she was so dark. But also she would take it out on Tina, that Tina maybe hadn't understood how difficult it can be to come out and not be accepted. Tina didn't, in the story we saw, we don't know that Tina's had any of those experiences. So up at that point, to that point in Tina's backstory. So there was a lot of resentment and a lot of jealousy, but it came from a place of pain of her mother and parent rejection, so that was interesting to work with.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, because obviously Tina was quite a young character in respect of when you joined as Tosh, and from what we knew, Tina had not an easy ride, but had an easier ride than perhaps what Tosh had up until when they met.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, or even if it hadn't been easy from day one, the fact was she had her family around her. Tosh arrived on the square as a completely alone, isolated figure. The only person that she had any connection to was Tina. She didn't even really get on with any of Tina's family.
No.
So there's something, you have to look at someone who is such an alone figure, yet has externally such a kind of confident, charismatic, ballsy sort of, from the outside, she looks like someone who's got loads going for her. But if you take a closer look, you see a woman who doesn't really have any friends, who has a partner that she's not very nice to, and lives very almost, she's moved into her partner's house, into her partner's family. It's quite clingy. It's quite sad, really, if you think about it. That's what I enjoyed about Tosh. I saw an aching vulnerability, and I think the writers picked up on that. In that, then they moved the storyline in the sort of middle passage of my time there into the thing about the baby, and her wanting to start a family, which might seem surprising about a woman who had so much career and very sort of, not necessarily someone you think of being very domestic, but there's obviously an aching gap in her, kind of some sort of absence of love and connection that she
wants to give that love to maybe her baby or as well as Tina together as a unit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really a woman desperate, but kind of tragic, because what she wanted most, connection, love, family, she wanted it so much she actually ended up pushing away. Like, she was trying to control Tina, and obviously the violence began to come about when she felt jealousy. She felt threatened. So this toxic love was the thing, her undoing, because you can't control people, particularly not through physical violence. Yeah, so on that level, there was loads for me to get my teeth into with Tosh. And for me, actually, it was really important that it was that we used it to educate or to sort of shed light on very difficult questions. Yeah, so sorry for sort of.
Oh no, absolutely, this is great. Honestly, it's lovely. As I say, it's a great having a conversation about Tosh, actually, because as you say, it's so much to underneath Tosh that perhaps you kind of re-examine Tosh and you see her from not a sympathetic light, but you can more understand why perhaps this is the way she's become.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think it's important, because what I kind of wanted was for somebody who might identify with Tosh, as in when she came on the square, they might think, oh yeah, I get this lady, I like her as well. Or it could be a guy, oh yeah, because she's tough and there's sort of, I wanted them to gradually understand how much they relate to her in a way that might surprise them. So basically, there will be people who are abusive to their partners. They may never have gone to the length that Tosh has, but maybe they're controlling, maybe they are dominant, maybe they are bullying. But I wanted them to get an uncomfortable sense of identification with her. And the only way to do that was to make her human. Because we have had, I mean, EastEnders has done domestic violence storylines before, and the famous one, Little Mo and Trevor, amazing, hard-hitting, beautifully acted, well, amazingly well acted. But let's face it, nobody, unless you're a complete psychopath, would identify with Trevor, because he was crazy. And little Mo was an absolute victim. She was sweet and kind and soft, and he ruthlessly exploited that. I wanted with Tosh and her relationship with Tina to be a little bit more nuanced, just because I think the way to change society, change people's behaviour, is to let drama reflect the mirror back at them and go, oh yeah. And no one's going to say, oh, I'm a bit like Trevor. But someone might say, oh, I am a bit like Tosh.
Yeah, there's that part of her which you can see, isn't it, from her family not accepting her. That's a really relatable thing for some people to do at home.
Yeah, and the way that she would, a lot of the dominance of Tina before it got physical would be verbal. So she would like twist Tina's words, make Tina doubt herself, control her through sort of, bullying really. And that can happen in relationships. And obviously it can it's part of human it can be quite normal and it's not really sinister, but it can be escalated to the point where somebody is taking control of somebody else's mind, and it's emotional abuse and psychological abuse. So this storyline had all elements. It was physical, emotional and psychological abuse. And so I felt very passionate.
Yes.
And there was the LGBT angle to it. So we worked with some charities, Broken Rainbows, or a phone line set up to be obviously a port of call for people in same-sex domestic violence, and Stonewall as well. We worked with them, consulted them on the storyline, because it's not given enough, particularly between women and between men. Because people say, well, how can two men having a fight be abuse? It's just two men. Or how can two women having a fight be abuse? Surely they're just girls. Girls don't hurt each other. In the way the programme was quite daring to make Tosh's final assault on Tina quite so brutal, because it was pretty horrific. And, the gloves are off. We said, this is how bad it could be. We want people to take it seriously.
Yeah, I suppose you're absolutely right. It's almost an untapped story where it's a same-sex relationship where someone has this dominance or manipulation over the other one. But as you say, Tosh was portrayed much differently to how Trevor and the Little Mo storyline was portrayed, because Tosh wasn't just, as you say, that black and white character. There was more to her than meets the eye.
I was wondering, taking on this really dark role and filming it like all those long hours, what was it like when the cameras stopped and you then had to go home? Do you find it quite easy to detach yourself from that character when you get home?
Yes and no. I mean, I remember filming the scenes where I'd be violent to Tina, particularly the last one. I felt very shaken by it, because I'm having to wind myself up into such an unpleasant place. I'm having to go to a part of my, not that I relate to what Tosh is doing, but I just mean where that sense of rage and anger and vicious resentment, it's not a nice place to inhabit. So I remember being quite shaken and needed to give Louisa a hug, and we needed to kind of, shake off the day. And then I try and go home and forget about it. But yeah, obviously it's not nice. It leaves a trace in the body, I think. But I suppose that's what you have to do. You kind of, no, but I think it's good, because you, as an actor, that's kind of your job, is to kind of put yourself into those positions. It isn't pleasant, but I was grateful for the opportunity to explore it at night.
Dwelling on it.
Get on the train back to South London. Forget about it, have a glass of wine.
Oh, that's a good idea. You had a few nice scenes, actually, in EastEnders as well. There was notably one with Shirley, where she confronted you when you were at the police station. And you basically hosed her down. It's a really fun scene. We've actually, I know it's in its context is maybe not so funny, but it's interesting to see how even you kind of stood up to Shirley, and she's always seen as like being almost the matriarch of the Carters even then. Was it fun filming scenes with
Linda? Yes, it was. She was very game in that scene, because she had to be blasted by this hose. I mean, they did have a stunt double as well, because it's dangerous, But Linda really had to get in the line of fire and do all this writhing on the floor and be utterly drenched, and she was really great about it. I thought she did a really great performance as well. It's very funny. Well, it is a funny scene. I mean, it's quite surprising, obviously, because as you say, nobody would really get the better of her. But I know that character had comic roots as well, and I think they kind of married the two sides of her. because it was a very sort of like almost comic book, like she stood up like blowing a fringe out of her face, like, oh, I'll get you next time.
It's interesting on that scene too. You can actually see how Tosh has the respect from her peers and in front of her male colleagues at the fire station. She was very strong, and they saw her as very strong, and they looked up to her. Where it's a very male orientated job. Is that something like Tosh would always want to portray herself?
I think actually it's very true to life, because I did a little bit of research, about and actually there's someone on set who was telling me, who used to be a female firefighter. It's a very, very male dominated. I mean, obviously, it's a very, very heavily macho world. To be accepted in the crew, you have to work very hard as a firefighter, and also in terms of your rapport with everybody, your bravery, your banter, all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, I wouldn't say this is typical. This particular person had a very bad experience. That's why she left and went to TV production. There was bullying, but that's just one example. And obviously, the fire service, great. I love the fire service. No disrespect to them. But anything where there's an imbalance so heavily in terms of gender and sexuality, not just a woman, she's a gay woman. Okay, I think to survive in that world and to move through and do well in her job, she's had to become quite bulletproof and make the joke first. She's got to be the sort of person who steps in, and she's obviously from that scene, won their respect and they love her. She's probably the smartest mouth, fastest talker, bravest. You have to be the best of the best to survive. But that goes for anyone who's an outsider, and it might be your gender, it might be your sexuality, it might be, I don't know, where you're from, your accent. We all know can relate to that idea of being, if you're the smallest, so you've got to be the funniest.
That's right.
She's battling a few things, a few sort of labels that could be used against her. You're a woman, you're gay, you're mixed race, and she's overcome them all. There's a hugely heroic side to Tosh, I think, well. Yeah, I think the survivor in her, I think her demons, this relationship with Tina just brings out her demons. I'd like to think it's the only time she'll ever do that to somebody. I really would like to think that wherever she is now, she's living happily.
It'll be interesting to find out where Tosh is now, because that's something that a lot of people, because we were asking on social media for questions and for people to give a few questions to us, and one of the main ones most people were asking was if Tosh was to come back, would she go and be with Tina again? Would this relationship work out better?
Well, I'd like to think that if Tosh came back, she'd have learned and would come back to say sorry. I also think that sorry might involve her saying, I won't ask to be your girlfriend again. I think hopefully Tosh would have grown up to realise that relationship is dead. It was toxic for both of them.
I mean, when Tosh left, Tosh said, didn't she? She said, you were the best thing I ever had to Tina. And then, but she kind of, quietly said to herself that she kind of ruined it for herself. So would you think it would be just to come back to apologise to Tina, or would you think she'd fight to get Tina back? It being
Eastenders, she'd obviously go and fight to get her back. It's more dramatic than me walking up the square. No, I know. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, of course you could. In the Eastenders universe, Tosh will ride up on a motorbike. Amazing. And go, all right, babe, I'm back, and I've been to anger management. I'm feeling good. Let's get back together, and then
let's try it again, shall we?
Yeah, let's have it again. I don't know. It could happen. I don't know. I think the reason for Tosh's absence is she's quite a hard character to rehabilitate without a lot of time passing. So I don't know if they'll ever invite me back. I mean, they did try and have me back for a couple of days. A year or so after I left, I wasn't available to shoot, and to be honest, I would only really want to come back if they were gonna give Tosh a few episodes to kind of complete her arc. I want people to know what happened to her afterwards. I mean, I'd like them to know that she learnt her lesson, because my only issue with being left up in the air, I don't mind not being on the show anymore. I had such a great time, and I never want to really look back, But the thing that was left up in the air is, did this person get rid of these issues which make her dangerous? She was a dangerous person. She was violent. She left Tina in a terrible state and wasn't arrested and wasn't charged with anything, and she went off into the public. And I'd like people to know what happened. And again, for the people who might have slightly identified with her, even know that actually, no, she went off and she learnt about herself, and she learnt how it is never excusable to take out your mess with somebody else. That's the thing. Because that's the other flip side of her being so human. Great that she's so human, but let's not end up for 1 minute say we're just excusing that, and it was, she was messed up, it's okay. Really, really bad thing. She should have been to prison.
So you think she should have had her comeuppance in the end? She should have had that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, she should have been arrested and put in prison for assault. I mean, she very, very savagely beat Tina. I'll be honest about that. I was disappointed because without prosecuting her, we haven't really taken the.
No, that's an excellent point. A very excellent point. No, that really is. I'm
never coming back now. They're like,
no. But it would also be very interesting if Tosh was to come out of prison. Would that change anything about Tosh? Would it make her harder? Would it make her more?
Oh well, gosh, who knows?
Who knows?
The other way.
I mean,
no, I was going to say, well, of course, they could just make her badder and badder and badder. I mean, she'd come out and she's definitely not recovered those issues with Tina, but she's become like a proper crim, like she's an organised crime. Because I wondered if at one point her and Phil Mitchell were going to like go in cahoots because they did have one episode, one scene together. There was some kind of thing there where I think, he was like, he recognised someone who's capable of being a bit of a wrong like him. Tosh is, you know what I mean? She's a daredevil. So yeah, in a way, they could apologise to Tina for beating her up, but she's also now a massive like criminal kingpin down in Croydon.
This is it. I'm liking this a lot.
She's now like,
I mean, I don't know if you still watch EastEnders, but obviously they had that Aidan storyline recently where he tried to take over the square. So maybe Tosh could come in and try to do the same thing.
Absolutely. I think, well, why not? Why not? She's definitely got the kind of kahunas to do that. And and maybe she could try to take over the Vic. Come on.
Why not? Well, the ultimate revenge on the Carters.
Absolutely. Me and Tosh and Mick squaring off once and for all. Yeah.
They're having a bad time of it at the moment, so I don't think they need anything else to.
I think Tosh needs to leave them alone for a few months.
Just do this now.
Welcome back.
What a cliffhanger to stop on. Stay tuned to listen to the rest of the interview. Will be coming up after this next analysis of the soap this week.
Yes, so we're going over the Carters and Stuart and Tina, because lots have been going on. He's becoming more and more unhinged every week.
We wouldn't expect anything less from Stuart, really.
I mean, it's all gone a bit mad. So this is when Mick obviously now realises that Stuart's not quite so nice. So he's trying to make amends with Tina. Bought her a doll.
Yes, he's bought her a doll that he had destroyed when he was a kid. He ripped the doll off her. He ripped the head off her favourite doll.
Maybe he's a psychopath.
Yes. Although later on there was a bit of a hint that perhaps it wasn't Mick who had done it, and it might have been Stuart. Anyway, so Mick offers to do anything for Tina in order to get some kind of comeuppance from Stuart, and Tina is adamant, absolutely adamant. I do not want you to do anything. Just leave it alone. I don't want you to talk to him anymore. We've made a clean break. That's the end of it. Sensible Tina. It was Tina it happened to. Tina said she didn't want anything else to happen. Let's just draw a line underneath it. Let's have it done. Mick goes out the Queen Vic. First person he bumps into, Stuart.
So they go to his flat, Stuart's flat, isn't it, where most of this happens?
His gaff. Sorry,
yeah.
I have
new set. Haven't seen that set yet. So nice.
Stuart's gaff.
Yeah,
it's quite a basic little set.
Yeah,
it reminded me a little bit, and I do think it may have been repurposed, of Billy's old flat.
Oh, do you think?
Yes, I think
where
it's...
Heather died.
No, not the upstairs flat, not the one Ian Bill used. The downstairs. It's the same building, but the downstairs flat. It was the same layout, so I think they may have painted it white. Added a few West Ham shirts and made it his own.
So him and Mick have quite a few words, and Mick's not really holding back at the moment, is he?
Not really. He basically points out about the number 9, Stuart's lucky number. Mick says that you played at number 9 in the final. Do you remember that? Stuart's like, yeah, I remember that. What are you trying to say? What are you referencing? And then Mick basically all out attacks him.
I love Stuart's face when he's being strangled on the sofa.
I know, his eyes crossed. It's like brilliant, it's kind of funny. Suffocated face. It was almost cartoon-like.
And if you're on Twitter, the guy who plays Stuart, his wife's on Twitter, and she always posts really horrible, funny things about her husband, Stuart, and she posted that.
I truly believe
making fun of him.
Yeah, I forget her name now, but his Ricky Champ. His wife, I think she's starting to believe that Stuart is seeping into her life as well. Bless her.
It's funny.
We keep giving her words of comfort, and she seems to like it.
So Mick sort of ended all ties with Stuart, told him all the truth, strangled him, decided, no, don't think I will kill you, I'm just going to leave now. This obviously angers Stuart because he doesn't like being seen as the weaker or being made fun of or anything like that. So he trashes his own flat.
Yes.
And does that real big cliche of like scratching the eyes out of a picture of Mick.
Yeah, stabs a younger picture of Mick and himself and stabs the
that's
Mick picture.
it.
I think it's not just that he feels like he's been outwitted. I don't think it's that. I think it's that he feels, and he says it a few times, references in the week, he's lost his family. He came to the square because his brother Halfway was there, and he'd been welcomed with open arms. Even though he made about Halfway had been welcomed, sorry, but Stuart had made about 12 mistakes, and they still kept forgiving him. And now this is almost a vendetta, an unfair vendetta, because he feels like the Carters have done something against him. Which is mad, absolutely nothing.
He doesn't like being made a fool of, I think, does he?
No, he always wants to be the dominant, doesn't he?
So he's causing real trouble on Tuesday because he's going into the cafe and telling rumours, because he obviously knows Tina works in the cafe, tells Kathy, Tina's scratched my car.
But in front of Keanu, who's buying his bacon
with
sandwich.
his new suntan, I noticed on Tuesday.
He had paid Tiff off as well, £2 to find out some information in the cafe. I mean, if you're going to find information, Tiff's the girl to go to.
She is. She's the link.
And so she she kind of drops little nuggets of information into people's heads to make them think differently about Tina. So he says that Tina's got a dark past. You don't know what she was like when she was younger. And Kathy's seems to be reciprocating it.
That's what I thought. But then later, when she bumps into Tina, she's a bit like judgy.
Yeah, she goes,
not judgy.
Tina, someone came in for you. And Tina made the stupid mistake of saying, I didn't key the car. And it's like, that's instantly, you're going to think she's done it. And she also says, she kind of stands up to Stuart and says, you're not welcome here. And says that if he has keyed the car, why don't you accept Keanu's help? So almost to say, well, I know you're lying.
Bluff,
calling his bluff.
So he scratches his own car and then goes to Keanu.
With a wicked sound effect.
It sounded like two swords.
Yeah, it
it's fantastic. I don't know how big his key is.
I mean, that was a heck of a chunky little key cut as well. Like not that I've scratched a car with a key, but if you've seen it, it's normally a very thin. It's like he was going for it.
So he's got his car in Walford Motors.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tina is waking up from a gin-fueled night. Yeah. Tina, you know that drinking isn't the answer. So you decide to go out drinking on your own.
Place.
Well, she was in a better place at that point. She'd been given a doll by Mick.
Maybe she'd bumped into Tosh on the weekend.
Maybe. Tosh was hiding, waiting for her.
And then, so she has to go to the laundrette.
Yes.
And Karen's like, can you just cover for me?
Yeah,
gotta go somewhere.
It's
the Chapman's doing something, isn't he, on the phone?
Oh, I don't know.
Bernadette's like, he won't do this, so she goes off to help
Chapman. Is Bernadette basically child mining?
Yeah,
mining.
Summer holidays. That's her job now. That's what it is.
Poor Bernie. No. I suppose she doesn't mind. She can do a bit of chess practice. Yeah, online.
So she's in the laundrette all on her own.
Yes,
playing with her doll.
She's playing with her. She's plaiting
weird,
the doll's hair.
I thought it's a bit.
She's reverted back to being a childlike state. Hasn't
she was already quite childlike anyway.
She was never.
She was with how she dresses and acts,
and her way she acts.
But she's like 40 something. Tina's meant
I think
to be.
she's 40. Yeah. But she's never really shown kind of like this kind of childlike. She almost reverted back into a state of a child.
She's always been, but she's seems extra childish at the moment.
So plaiting the doll's hair, and then she decides she's going to get herself a drink. So she's looking in all the jars for quite a good variety of drinks there. There was fruit tea.
Karen's there all day, isn't she? She's got a...
I don't think they're all for Karen. I mean, when Dot used to run the laundrette, she used to boil the kettle for anyone who'd come in for sympathetic ear.
No, that's what Kathy's is for now.
Where is Dot?
Upstairs.
Sonia, on
nights.
Yeah.
Working nights with Sonia. Stuart comes in and kind of backs her into a corner in the staff room.
Where he says she's free to go, but it's very threatening. And he's begging her. He's putting on this act, begging her, telling her, just stop telling lies. Again, trying to plant the seed in her head, saying that you're wrong. What you're saying is wrong. It's not true.
Yeah, and he mentions his keyed car, and that's what makes her go.
She's like, I never did that.
Yeah, so she goes to inspect it.
Well, when she runs off.
No one's there. Is that when Keanu's helping Kat, do you think? Is that why he's not there?
When she runs out the laundrette and she's dropped the doll, Stuart's feeling quite cocky for himself, and so he stomps on the doll's head, which made me think, well, maybe Stuart was the one who broke the doll originally
in the first place.
But he's also, did you see the reaction time, how he changed from he was on his knees begging Tina for forgiveness or to stop the lies. As soon as Tina left the laundrette, his face just went from this kind of grimacing, upset face to this smirk again.
Yeah, straight away.
It's so well done. He's brilliant. Ricky Champ is amazing. He's playing this role perfection. So yeah, as you say, as she leaves the laundrette, she turns to her left, cafe with two. I mean, again, do you not buy bread as a wholesale if you own a cafe? Minute Mart's going to be, yeah, but that's going to be inflated cost. Yeah, everyone helps each other on the square. Turns to the right, and so Cafe says what happened, but we've already mentioned all that. Turns to the right, and then Keanu, in a kind of like easy ride away, is driving on the moped past her and shakes his head at her.
I know.
It's like, all right, Keanu, there's no need for that judgment.
All Tina has to do is say 2 words to Keanu and he'll be running scared.
Oh, he'll
change his tune.
He certainly will. So yeah, Tina sees the scratch car at Mitchell Motors.
Yes, she does, and no one else is there. Turns around and Stuart is like being even more menacing, like slowly walking towards her, backing her into another corner.
Yeah, he starts mentioning Sylvie. And said
brings
that
her up.
And said it's again, he's now antagonizing her. He's winding her up deliberately to get her.
And he's like holding like a wrench.
Yeah, and he gave it up far too easily. So again, it was obviously deliberate that he wanted her to, again, plant the idea to react. Yeah, he says a really good line that she would do favors for scratch cards, which that's Sylvie, which I absolutely loved. I love that line. She may have.
Oh, she would have.
And then basically kind of giving up the whole act, Stuart then says that he says, I'm in your head and Linda's and Mick's. And it's like, so he's saying basically, I'm playing you all. You're all my puppets and I will do exactly what I want to do and you can't do a thing about it.
She finally whacked him one though. That was good.
Right on the corner of the head, right on the skull. There's nothing there to miss, so it's fine.
It was such a Trevor and Mo like thing because they came back and his body wasn't there. And that's what happened to Trevor when he got hit with the iron.
Yes.
Like,
yes, he'd gone missing.
So Shirley's back.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Back from her holiday.
Just in time.
She's going to knock them all back in line.
Yeah. So Tina comes and tells Linda and Mick what she's done. So they run off to the motors. And Shirley says, I've just seen the police outside. I mean, this is happening very quickly. Him getting up from being unconscious to going to the police then coming. In the time it took them to run over the square.
I mean, it's an attack and he knows the person who attacked him. So I don't think it really takes a lot of resources.
Fast.
Yeah, they need to get it done. Tina is questioned about the attack at the police station. And this really, I didn't like... I know the police aren't portrayed as particularly...
I know, they're always really awful.
Yeah, they're either portrayed as very slow and can't get anything done, or corrupt. Or on this occasion, the police officers saying, why didn't you come and report it to us about what Stuart had done? She said, because you wouldn't believe me. Then proceeded to give evidence of, yes, actually, we probably wouldn't have believed you. Because he's basically saying, no, if you had come, we would have helped you. No, you wouldn't have. Yes, we would have, but we're not going to help you now. If someone's giving a statement saying, in the past this has happened, surely the police need to investigate it.
No, it's a big topic, isn't it? The blaming the victim sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, the police should investigate.
It was horrible.
Every side.
Tina.
Well, it was horrible, and it wasn't. And if they'd done their job properly, they should have investigated Tina's claim. Anyway, that was a little detail which made me a little.
It was. It made a lot of people angry. It was naughty.
It was naughty.
It was. Yeah, she's said all this to the police. They're not believing her.
No.
Stuart bumps into Mick and Shirley outside the police station. And Shirley has a go at him. And he sort of hands his cards out in front of them as well. He sort of says, there's nothing you can do. I'm going to take Tina down. And Shirley and Mick are sort of there. And they're like, no, this is definitely... He's showing his hands really openly now, isn't he? In front of all the Carters, what he's really like.
And he also shows his hand to Keanu later in the cafe. Again, he's manipulating and playing Keanu now. Because he says to Keanu, I've got her. And that he always needs to win. And anyone else would be a bit like, oh, hang on, this is a bit creepy. Perhaps I may just distance myself from you a little bit. But no, Keanu's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you always need to win?
Right old gossip, isn't he?
He is a gossip. Well, he needs to share some gossip with Sharon later on, doesn't he?
A bit more gossip.
So Stuart wants to flip a coin to determine Tina's fate.
Yes.
And it's a 50p coin, which becomes relevant a bit later on because he flips the coin and he says that heads, he'll change his statement, or completely cancel his statement, or tails, she's going down. He's showing fake remorse for Tina as well in front of Keanu, saying, oh, you know, I don't really want to do this to her, but she did hit me around the head, so maybe I should keep it going. What do you think, Keanu? Maybe I'll flip a coin. So again, he now knows that he's got Keanu on his side, slowly getting Halfway on his side, because Halfway returns this week as well, but not before he's gone into the
Well, this
pub.
is the silly bit, because he does that coin thing again in front of Shirley, in front of everyone in the Vic. But surely him shouting all this stuff out saying, I'll report her if it's heads, so I won't. Surely it proves everyone looking at him knows that he's not telling the truth.
It was erratic, wasn't it?
And that's the evidence the police wanted, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if Keanu had been in the pub at the time of that happening, perhaps he would have seen, maybe this nutcase is not quite...
Shirley went for him, though.
Shirley did. Well, he'd already made his decision.
Yeah.
He flipped the coin and it said that he was going to cancel the statement or retract the statement. And then Shirley threw a drink on him and he still said, well, okay, we'll flip a coin again then, just see. And then, Shirley attacked him.
Good.
But, I mean, yes, we wanted to.
Go Shirley, that was my number one moment of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I love that he rolled the coin down the bar as well towards Shirley, and Shirley kind of stopped it. And he said, I couldn't have rolled it with the other coin. It's 50p. It's hexagonal. It's like, well, good observation.
Yeah.
But, so he said, you lose, Tina. And the Duff Duff kicked in. And it's like, uh-oh. So Tina is basically...
going down.
She's going down. I mean, not a lot really happened on Friday. It was more of
just
just
Halfway and him. Halfway's feeling guilty. He doesn't really know who to side with.
Yeah. Again, Shirley had some words of wisdom to share with Halfway, which was you need to pick a lane. Hovering in the middle is where accidents happen. I thought that was quite an insightful thought. Halfway meets with Stuart, and Stuart inclines that he would retract the statement if Halfway comes back,
joins
him and lives with him in his flat. He also gives him a St. Nicholas. He gives him a St. Nicholas necklace and tells him a bit of a story.
This is what I was saying like weeks and weeks ago, that I thought that his family might have been abusive, although we don't know if it's true.
Well, Halfway was surprised to hear.
Not Dad. I know he got angry, but I never knew it was like that. But then Stuart said, "Oh, I always took it and wouldn't let him hurt you," and that kind of makes sense of how both of them are together.
But again, he said that necklace, that St. Nicholas necklace, was his, that he was given to him by a teacher,
but he bought
Mrs.
it
Lewis.
from a gold store.
But he bought it from a pawnbroker.
Yeah.
Which, oh my goodness, we can't let this one pass.
Denny
was back, ready for his big storyline,
I think. Yeah. He doesn't appear for no reason.
Although he said the really ridiculous thing is like just a guy looking for a shop window, and he said, "You going to steal that, mister?" It's like, no. I mean,
it's like a right old Cockney boy, like from Oliver, isn't he?
And he had a football in his arm as well.
Dennis.
Yeah, I'm a young boy. I like football, and I'm a bit Cockney and a little bit ooh and ah.
He could do that if he ever gets fired from EastEnders. I think he could be in Oliver.
He could do the state. He'd be the Artful Dodger, though. He wouldn't be Oliver.
Oh yeah. Future.
Consider yourself at home, Ben.
No. So yeah,
Stuart.
Halfway sort of thinks, well, okay, if I go with Stuart and tell the Carters I'm leaving, on the other hand, I'll help Tina because he'll retract his statement.
Which he said to Tina. So again, is this a plan by Halfway and Tina?
Oh God.
Well,
it's not going to end well.
Well, no, it will end awfully.
Halfway. But he was at Stuart's flat and Stuart basically said, no, I'm still taking her down.
Yeah.
And Halfway after dinner did see the photo in the bin of Mick and Stuart.
Yes, the torn up, lots of photos. He torn up a few photos, and almost symbolically, Stuart had poured the food over their faces as to say, they're
rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. They're the rubbish.
But that would be nice if Halfway is double bluffing Stuart and ends up being the smarter one. That'd be nice.
They never showed the full scene. He just said, "Tina, there's something I can do to help you."
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I mean, if he told let's be honest, if he said to Mick or Linda what their plot was, Mick wouldn't be able to keep a secret for more than 5 seconds.
No.
Mick is just awful with that. But yeah, so again, a bit more of the same, but it's nice that they're stretching out the story, so it's going to have this big.
Well, they're creating a
cliffhanger
good
end.
villain.
They've created a good villain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's well done. Any comments from Twitter?
Yep, we have got just a few. Lauren said, and I quote, "Shirley, we've given you a home here." She says, "I'm pretty sure Halfway basically paid for your home," which is true.
Yes, that's true. And also, that's why Shirley got chucked out and she has to share a room with Tina. So there we go.
I thought that was a good point.
I'm agreeing with you.
he had that ring and he got the Vic back for them all, and they're all saying to him, "Pick a side. We gave you a home here."
That's true. Perhaps
he gave them a home. Actually.
Perhaps he should move Stuart into the Vic and chuck Mick and Linda into the flat, into the gaff.
Yeah. So we just got one little storyline, which is just Jean been going on and on all week about wanting a christening, because she's obviously got boxes from Ollie of all her belongings, and this has made her think, oh, I'm getting a divorce.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
she sort of put all her issues into this christening, focusing everything on it and wanting a christening.
I mean, she wants a full-blown every single child in the house christening.
And Big Mo.
I don't think anything could help Big Mo anymore. I think the holy
she's
water
gone.
would actually burn her. But she makes a compromise because she convinces Martin that the christening is a good idea against Stacey's wishes. And so they decide, or Martin agrees with Jean that she can organise a christening for Hope, the youngest of the three Slater children.
And she goes crazy and tries to do a big christening, which isn't going well. Stacey doesn't want Sonia invited.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit cruel. Then they did it twice.
Sonia's the holy one.
I know. And also you brought up a good point. Will Dot bother coming to the christening?
Well, she didn't bother coming to Shaquille's funeral.
No.
So
what a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But so Jean's basically spent the whole week trying to first of all cover up the christening because she got Lily cross. And there was a really good scene when Stacey said to Lily, "Do you want do you know what a christening is?" And Lily's like, "Yeah, all right then. Do you want one?" No,
no one wants one.
Jean's like, "Oh, okay."
All
then.
old-fashioned. And someone made a good point on Twitter. It was Andy. They said the Slaters have no money, and Jean wants to have a christening of all things. Where's the logic? Which I thought,
That's
they've
true.
all got no money and £5,000 in debt. They're going to have a huge christening.
Well, no, they're not having a huge christening.
Well, aren't they?
Well, no,
When it comes to it.
Stacey said
I've seen pictures on set, and it looks like a big christening to me.
Said and quotable that she doesn't want a large christening.
Yeah, well, Stacey didn't want a christening at all to begin with. Now they're having one.
That's true, but she doesn't. She definitely doesn't want Sonia coming. But then I don't think Sonia could come because she's working nights.
Yeah, she'll be on nights.
I'm working nights. They'll give her the invitation. She'll just shout in their face. I'm working nights.
Make room for Dot. So we're just gonna go off and see the second half of our interview.
Yeah, so for the second half of the interview, we talk a bit more about Eastenders and also some projects she's up to now. And we also ask some questions that you guys had asked on social media. So, yes.
Exclusive with Rebecca Scroggs. And we'll come back and then finish up after that.
I wanted to also, a few people were asking what it was like on like your first day on set, seeing that really famous set of the square and things. What was that like for you to see it and see all these characters that you've been watching on screen for years?
Yeah, it was really surreal, obviously. It was completely bizarre. I sort of got on set, put on this fireman's outfit and was marched onto Albert Square where they've got the Queen Vic. And then they said, there's a fireman there and a whole fire truck and everything. And this guy was like, climb this ladder. And I said, climb this ladder. And then Danny Dye poked his head out of the top window of the Vic. I said, all right. And I was like, what am I doing? What is going on here? I don't know if I ever got over it really. It's just completely bizarre when you're going into work and your office is Albert Square. And then you're doing the interior scenes. Well, they've actually changed the set since I was there. It's all a bit different, I think. But when I was there, in this big aircraft hangar with all the interior scenes, so you're sitting in the Carter's kitchen. And then across, a bit like IKEA, actually across the aisle is the laundrette, all laid out, ready to go to be the laundrette when Dot steps on. And then next to that is, someone else's house. And it's all like IKEA. You wander through. There's no walls, And it's like, oh, God, I've never done studio television like that to see how it's all sort of, laid out. And so it's just a kick. I got a kick out of it and a buzz. It's hilarious. And meeting these people that have been in I used to watch this from a very young age. Really, I'm probably too young, actually. And I watched it all the way through till about the early noughties or something. When you get the early 2000s, like year 2000 or something like that.
That's it, isn't it? That's when we have our little gap is when we were first old enough to go out.
Absolutely. Well, I just filmed an episode of Casualty, and I hadn't watched Casualty since I was
my goodness.
16, when suddenly Saturday nights I had better things to do than watch, But up until then it was an absolute, Casualty. Absolutely. Saturday night, I think it was 8 o'clock, whatever it was. Yes, Charlie and Duffy, yes. But EastEnders was similar. It was like, that's Ian Bill. I grew up. Legends everywhere.
Do you all have a lunch break at the same time, or do you all kind of film sporadically throughout so do you get to...
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of mixing just because we're all filming different things. But there is a canteen where you can go. I used to go there occasionally, and you'd see people sit around at a table with whoever was around, and then there'd be like the whole big cast would be at the next table, and it's all very weird. Everyone's in scrubs there, and we're all like we're wearing. And there were a couple of social things we did, and we drove to the British Soap Awards or the National Television Awards, whatever, was on a big red bus, the whole EastEnders cast on a big red bus. It's like, what's going on here?
Oh, that's amazing.
I've heard they're quite a wild night, the award nights, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well,
No comment.
night out. No comment. No comment. We went to the British Soap Awards, I think it was. Oh, it was, yes. We all ended up in the same hotel as Hollyoaks. It's really funny. It's like being away on like a school trip. They're all in teams, you know. Oh, Hollyoaks said that we can go back to theirs. Okay, great. Oh, where are you? I wish some curry. Bring them, you know. Like,
have a couple of Tizers in someone's room, eh?
yeah, just a couple of Tizers. I thought, after eight, and a glass of port, you know, just before bed.
Ready to tuck yourself in for another night of filming?
Absolutely, your birthday crack of dawn.
I mean, the British Soap Awards have just gone bigger and bigger, haven't they? So I suppose that maybe it's cleaned up its act a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, well, I think that, I mean, no, honestly, it's just good fun because obviously it's a work jolly, isn't it? And what is amazing is because when you're in the soap world, it's quite a weird little bubble. Like you're sitting in the same room as dozens of people who also get what it's like to be on these institutional soaps. You know, Corrie obviously get what EastEnders go through, and Hollyoaks, and who else is in there, Doctors, and who else, you know. And so it is a bit of a work jolly, and people just get to socialise and hang out. And yeah, some of them, wherever it's filmed, people are either in a hotel or they're in their home city. So it's just a celebration, really. And it's full of crazy characters because a lot of these actors on these shows are just larger than life people. That's why they got the job. You know, they are just performers.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's what they say acting is. It's just showing off, isn't it?
Well,
I know it's not that. I think it's a lot harder than that. Trust, I can completely sympathise with you guys.
They are also very, very. It's not coal mining.
No, that's
not
true.
No, I just like to give that disclaimer. Not saving lives, not going down the coal mine. But yeah, it is hard work. It's hard work, and there's a lot to it, you know. So it's a craft, and it's graft.
Yeah,
it's graft.
It's hard craft.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How was it going from theatre to television, like filming wise and work wise? Was it quite difficult, that change in?
It's quite different. It's a whole different, like, sort of, in theatre, obviously, the rehearsal process is kind of the 4 or 5 weeks. You're, you know, in a room exploring, picking something apart and going over it again and again and again and deepening your relationship with your fellow actors. And telly can feel quite brutal in that you're thrown in set. The rehearsal really is just while you're sorting out the technical. Obviously, if you've got questions, you can ask questions, but really, you're moving forward very fast. And then it's kind of throw it out and see what happens. I mean, with EastEnders, one thing about EastEnders is because it's filmed multi-camera. So you've got, like, when you're inside, you've got up to 4 cameras filming you. So you basically just run the scenes again and again and again, and the cameras are picking you up. And so it's a little bit more like theatre, you know, without the audience. You're just doing the scene from beginning to end. You just start, okay, do it again, do it again, do it again. So EastEnders is quite interesting in that. I think that's where you get the naturalism and the kind of relaxation, and the actors are just sort of rolling over the scene. Other shows, most shows are shot on single camera that's pointing at a certain direction, and then the shot sizes get bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller, and it's all turned around on the other actor. And there the pace is slower. You're not turning over as many scenes, but you're working shot sizes. So you might be like modifying your acting a bit, like, oh, it's my close up now, so I'm gonna, like, I don't know, dig a little deeper, or there's a whole other technical thing going on. But I really enjoy the contrast. That said, I'm now really looking forward to it because I've just done 2 tellies now back to back, Black and this Casualty Ep, and now I'm going to do a play, and I'm so excited.
Yes, we're going to talk about the play. I mean, it's at the Sheffield Crucible, is that right?
Crucible, yeah, that's right, yeah. And it's a 2-hander, and it's a really interesting play. So it's very like a local play about Sheffield, really, about Sheffield and the sort of political movements up there, the kind of more working class community and the Labour Party. It's a comedy, though, I have to say. It's not too heavy. It's just about outsiders coming into a tight-knit community and how that can be perceived, and how the sort of right and wrong way of doing that. Like, one of the characters sort of bulldozes in and offends everyone. The other one maybe doesn't shout loud enough.
Right, because it's about 3 decades, isn't it, of women in politics? Is it?
Yeah, it was set between, basically there's only 2 actors in the play, myself and the guy called Nigel Betts, who's from Emmerdale, I think. And we will play 2 characters each. One strand is in 1989, where Josie is trying to become a local councillor. She's from Sheffield, but she's young and she's mixed race, and so and therefore she's in 1989 could be perceived as a little bit of an outsider to the mainstream, like, Labour Party movement. In 2018, Vanessa Gallagher is an MP from London, but born in Sheffield, but she really doesn't have any connection to Sheffield apart from that. she's coming up to stand to be their local mayor, the Metro Mayor.
Yeah.
Like Andy Burnham is in Manchester. She's standing to be that in Sheffield. But she brings with her a very like London-centric point of view and way of being and doing. And there's a little bit condescending about the North and the community and old-fashioned Labour values. She's a bit, I mean, she's again a woman of colour and she's young and, you know, so she's progressive and really liberal. But it's just in some ways where some of the comedy comes from her just sort of bulldozing through. But then again, it's about the resistance that communities can have to new ideas and stuff. And kind of nothing's really resolved. It's all just up in the air, like, you know, there's no moral to the tale.
Is it slightly satiristic or is it?
Yeah, it is, particularly with Vanessa because she's so sort of like London and she drinks her big cups of coffee and she's like, oh, she has to make it home because she can't get a decent cup of coffee in the North. And there's that, you know, she's saying stupid things and she's very sort of like, she's not in a relationship, she's a polyamorous pansexual kind of which is fantastic, but she's saying this to this kind of rather traditional Yorkshireman who's like, what are you talking about?
What's this word you're saying?
What is all this? This is nonsense. So, you know, there's a sort of satire of, the kind of language or, you know, cultures in this country. You know, we've got people speaking completely different languages talking about the same thing.
Yeah. It's almost, it's also maybe a generation gap there where the young people say words and the older people, and they're just like, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, very much so. She's in her 30s and the guy she is working off is in his 50s or 60s. So there's a big gap there. So, yeah, very much so, yeah.
That's fantastic. And have you started rehearsals for that? I presume you have.
No, I'm not. I start on Monday the 13th of August. So I've got to move up to Sheffield for a couple of months. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard really great things about it. It's a place. Get my digs sorted. And yeah, that's good. It's going to be great. And I'll see when I get back what comes up. And Black's going to be aired early 2019. Looking forward to that. It's a really great show.
Yeah, that's on UK TV, isn't it, in the UK? It's going to be on...
Yes, which kind of makes Dave and weird... Well, it's a new... They've never made their own TV before. They usually show reruns. This is their first project. It's an incredible piece. Anna Paquin, if you know her from being an X-Men, from being in True Blood, being...
it's a fantastic cast.
Yeah, amazing people. Alan Davis is in an episode, Max Beasley. Oh, Sophie Okonedo is in it throughout. We've got a guy who was in The West Wing in an episode. Like, it's a glossy, funny, smart, slick show about celebrity PR. It's very funny. And I play another gay character, which is just an honour. I'm actually, as it happens, heterosexual, but I often play gay women. It's great. And I'm her sort of Anna Paquin's, old flame.
Oh, so another old flame coming in too.
Another old flame coming in?
What's going on?
It's a bit nicer than Tosh. No fisticuffs.
No.
Much more balanced. Reese is in control of herself. She's got it together.
And has your new episode of Casualty been aired yet, or is that still...
No, I literally just shot it last week, so it'll be out in November the 3rd, I think I saw on November the 3rd, yes. So that is a pregnant woman, not straight pregnant woman. Weirdly enough, when I did an episode of Holby, I also played a pregnant woman. So I don't know what's going on. Some memos are going around in the BBC about what I can't play, pregnant or gay. Not both at the same time at the moment. Could happen. Watch out.
Do you, because obviously Casualty, Holby City, Eastenders, do you audition for these, or because the producers kind of talk to one another and say, oh, we really want Rebecca to do this role?
I've still been through auditions, but I certainly knew. In fact, I kind of got EastEnders out of doing an episode of Doctors, I was told. And I did this episode. And the BBC casting department watch Doctors. They have it on in their office because it's every episode of Doctors, there's at least 4 guest artists on it. So they keep an eye to see who's around. And they saw me doing this character. And they were, oh, she looks great for this new regular EastEnders. So called me in for that. So it was a very warm audition when I auditioned for EastEnders. And then basically did one audition and then came back for a sort of recall. But I kind of had the job basically by the time I recalled, which was amazing. I mean, they didn't tell me that till after, but I kind of, Louisa actually, she's so funny. When she read with me my recall, and then she walked down the stairs to me. She was like, "You're the only person they're seeing." I wasn't supposed to tell you that, but I said it now. Oops.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's what you want to hear, though, isn't it?
And I was like, "You're joking?" She's like, "Yeah, that went really well, so you've got the job." And I was like, "You're joking? I've just got a job on EastEnders." She's like, "Yeah, but you're not supposed to know that." But yeah, I do audition for them. But when you've just done some work, yeah, they're looking upon you favourably. But you still have to. I mean, I suppose one day I might get to the point where they just dish me out jobs. That'd be
lovely, wouldn't it?
That's every actor's dream, to get the offer. There's an offer come through your agent says it's like the best moment. It's like, what? No audition?
Yeah. Just roll into the role and.
Exactly, that's it. They want you. Yeah, one day.
No, I'm sure it will. It's honestly, it's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing this new series of Flack and the episode of Casualty, which she says November the 3rd. They all sound amazing.
Well, I've had a good time this year. Yeah, it's been really fun. Really fun. So long may it continue.
Oh, exactly. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had anything you wanted to do where you think this is like my next dream role? Is there something you haven't been able to do yet that you'd quite like to be involved?
Well, yeah, my kind of guilty pleasure, but my guilty ambition would be anything in Game of Thrones, which isn't going to happen because obviously it's finishing.
It just wraps
but then
through.
I want to be like a queen. And they're going to do loads of spin-offs, I hear, of different worlds and different, those countries. I want to be a queen in one of these new worlds and ride a horse and, cast.
Oh yeah, that sounds fantastic fun.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. And apart from that, I also want to play like a Shakespearean, lead act role kind of thing. So classical theatre or some really fun telly.
Yeah.
Of filming a fraud where I ride a horse.
You got the horse. It's all about the horse.
Do you ride horses and is that a hobby of yours?
Not since I was a little kid, but a lot of girls dream about riding horses, and I grew up watching costume dramas, and so I kind of wanted to wear a corset and ride a horse, but it doesn't come up very often, depending on your casting, you kind of, not going to make it into Poldark. So, I'm like, I want to exercise that bit of me that wants to, I either be a damsel on a horse or a kick-ass queen.
I think you'd make a queen better. Yeah, you'd suit the queen, I think. Yeah, you're no damsel. You're no damsel.
No, I think not. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're going to just ask a couple more questions if we can just kind of about from our social media. Just a couple.
Yeah, sure.
Kate McDevitt asks, what scene did you find most upsetting to film for EastEnders?
Oh, well, probably wasn't the final scene, but one of the final scenes when I had to, attack Tina. That was very upsetting. It really wasn't very nice.
It's a very hard scene to watch. I mean, we watch scenes, and that scene is incredibly difficult to watch.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
But it's great. It's well portrayed. It's well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's sort of what do you call it? Sort of Poison Chalice. Like it's great that it's so hard to watch, but that made it hard to film. But I felt really nasty after that. I suppose you are always accessing parts of yourself in a way. I mean, you're revealing something about what you might look like if you were pushed to that anger. But anyway, so that was difficult. I also want to say, because we've already just talked about that scene of it, I feel like some of the scenes where Tosh was very upset about the baby. Now, they weren't as difficult in the same way as that scene, but there was stuff when, she lost her baby. Yeah,
it's a different side you have to tap into, isn't it? That really emotive.
Despair and, I don't have children myself, so, just accessing her need really was difficult. I think actually, honestly, that was a real acting challenge. Probably more than the violence, weirdly, was to access someone who wanted a baby that desperately. Personally, I would have thought that she was in such a great place, or it wasn't the right time, but this was some trigger in her mind that told her that now was the time to have a baby. That was quite hard to get my head round. I didn't really, when they told me she was going to want a baby, I wasn't really that on board with it. But really?
Oh, really?
Oh, no, fair enough. It's great. It was all great. It's all, that's meaty. I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. Because I just wanted to carry on exploring Tina and Tosh between themselves. And also Tosh as a woman, as a career woman. She didn't put out a single fire. Let me just make that point.
She gave it a good go.
Yeah.
I was a bit galled by that because there was a fire on the squares. And it was put out by Ben and Ian's son. And I was like, hang on a minute. What? Not even one bit of, Tosh checked people's vital signs when they were brought out of the building.
Yeah, she did. She made sure.
Peter? Yeah. So she was doing first aid, but I was like, there is a fire. The square's resident firefighter is nowhere near it. In fact, I was wearing like a skirt and it was a summer day. I was wearing like a pencil skirt and a bikini top. I was basically most unprepared to fight a fire. I was like, this is really not fair. So I would have actually preferred Tosh to have some firefighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was doing all this firefighter exercise stuff. I was learning how to be firefighter fit.
That's a spin-off, isn't it? You could have like London Burning with Tosh.
Yeah. Maybe she could go into Holby as a firefighter, like who they...
Well, like a crossover, and EastEnders...
Right. Yeah, she could do a crossover. She can move to wherever the fictional city of Holby. And be like the firefighter that you see occasionally. You know, she wouldn't be in every episode, but she'd pop up occasionally. You know, when people are fires or out of it.
You get her redemption.
Yeah,
Save a few lives.
I think that's the secret. Because I don't know if they can redeem her on EastEnders, but she could pop up on another show.
There you go.
Right, so John York. Well, that's not John York's decision. He's running EastEnders now. Who runs Holby? Get out there. You guys must have contact.
We'll use we'll use our contacts.
Can I prefer Casualty? I actually, having just worked in it, I really liked it down there, so I'd like to go back. Can you put other feelers out that I'd like to be that in Casualty?
I tell you what, we'll put it when we tweet. We'll put a few feelers out, as you say, when we say that we interviewed you. We'll make a big deal about it. Don't you worry.
Sorry, you had more questions.
No, it's great. It's lovely.
We had a question from Brendan, who wanted to know, obviously, because you were a villain on EastEnders, sometimes you don't always get the best reaction from fans. Did you receive any sort of bad reactions from fans or fan mail that wasn't quite?
Okay. None at all. Really. I mean, I'm not saying I was university loved. One time I did a search on Twitter. I searched my name or Tosh's name on Twitter. Immediately realised you never do that. No. Don't ever go looking for comments about you. I think, to be fair, one person once sent a negative comment with using my Twitter handle, so I couldn't avoid looking at it, and it was just something really petty and silly and schoolboy. Apart from that, to my face and in the letters I've ever received, unless my agent's burning some, I've only ever received support, and which is just a testament to the writing of the character and that they managed to make her human. People will often write, "Oh, she was very difficult to watch, and it was a very, complex storyline and uncomfortable at times." They're not saying, "Oh, I love her; she's amazing; she's my hero." They're saying that she was, complex and difficult. But I have not received any of the. I've heard infamous, legendary abuse and vilification that some people do, and it might be where I live. I live in right central London. I live in Brixton, and it's a very Afro-Caribbean area. And this sounds like a real generalisation. So many fans in that community of the show, particularly being from the community myself, I more often would get stopped in the street to congratulate me on my good fortune and my hard work and everything like that. That was their main thrust. It was like, yeah, go on, girl. Go on, local girl. And then they might say, oh, that Tosh she's a bit of a one. Yeah, she is. But that was my experience. Now, if you went to other parts of the country, or I don't know, I think Louise used to say when she was out, she lived in, I won't say where, but outside of London. Well, obviously, and obviously, if you're going to meet the actress, you're obviously going to be on her side. So she would get lots of people telling her how much they hated me. And that's just fair enough.
But in a way, that's what it shows a credit to you and the writing of the character of Tosh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's showing that people were actually seeing that human side to her, which was the most important.
Yeah, it wasn't two-dimensional. It was obviously two-dimensional enough that people responded to her as a human being. So I didn't feel the need to heap abuse on me. But as I say, search Tosh on Twitter, probably a different story. But I went green. I was like, oh my God.
Oh no.
Everything from my appearance to my acting, to what I think of the cat. Twitter can be a nasty, murky place. But that's why I don't go looking for it.
Just got to look for the positive. Yeah.
You're actually right. Just ignore it, or just don't go out looking for it.
If people haven't sent it to you directly, then you don't need to see it.
Completely.
My advice to anyone. Trolling is a real thing, and often people don't have any choice. It's sent to their inbox, and they have their feet. They have absolutely no choice.
I mean, it's when they do it directly. It's a bit uneasy, isn't it?
It's horrible. It's really hard. It's bullying.
Absolutely.
Don't tell me I'm ugly.
Oh, bless you. No.
Funny when you realise people waste their time.
Well, that's right. They're wasting so much effort just to do something like that. It's just unnecessary. Do it on something more productive. Help people out rather than, anyway.
And we had one last question, which was, if you were going to speak to your younger self, what advice would you give them to get sort of into the acting career? What's that one bit of advice that you'd give the young guys listening?
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking about this because it's quite a good question. Because, I think, there could be things I did differently. Trust in the future, trust in yourself, work on your craft, worry about the acting, everything else will take care of itself. Don't worry about career. Don't waste any time. Go and act as much as you can and find ways to get better. If you don't know how to get better, go and ask someone how to get better. Everyone can get better. Not be hard on yourself, but really be a student of acting, and then things will just fall into place. Because if you send that sort of energy out, it will be met.
Yeah. You put positive things out, positive things come back to you.
Definitely. It takes care of itself.
Fantastic, lovely. So just to quickly go over then, so you're at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield with the play Steel from the 13th of September to the 6th of October. Excellent. And you're obviously, we can catch you on TV in Casualty in November, and you're in the TV series Flack, which is coming soon, which is very
Yeah, I think hopefully February next year. That's the latest. Obviously, it could be a bit later than that, but hopefully February.
fantastic. Lovely.
Can't wait.
Yes, brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for letting us say hello to you and have a chat.
And impose on your holiday.
Yes, and impose on your holiday. We'll let you. Is it sunny where you are? Because it's very sunny here.
Really, really hot. I mean, it's hot in England. I know it's really hot here. 37 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
I think today. But no, I just want to say that the reason I jumped at this chance is because, weirdly enough, I spent the week on Casualty and talking to fellow actors I was meeting, and people were like, "Oh, you Eastenders a while ago now." I was like, "Yeah, it is a while ago. It's like 4 or 5 years ago. Isn't that funny how time flies?" Tosh was very much in my mind, and then I checked my Twitter and saw this message. I thought, you know what? I would like to talk about Tosh because I haven't actually spoken about Tosh for a few years. I thought actually it felt very, again, it's like, I don't know, universe.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's have a chat. Let's download Tosh and like deal with that and explore her because kind of a chapter that closed a while ago now.
But it's a chapter that perhaps may reopen.
Well, we've put it out there, haven't we? We've got the option
now, so that's it.
Comes back reformed, comes back as a criminal kingpin.
I know, so many plans.
Turns up on Casualty. That's the 3 plans.
You have to free up your calendar.
A 3-pronged plan.
Yeah, 3 points. Got to cover the bases.
But no, I bet it's nice and cathartic, isn't it, to look back on something you've done before and just to discuss it again.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. So thank you for having me on.
Well, no,
It's our
honestly,
pleasure. It's been lots of fun, and I hope you had fun as well.
yeah.
I did. Definitely.
Just do this now.
So there we go. So it was a really great interview and we had a lot of fun recording that. And again, we need to thank Rebecca for agreeing to do that interview with us. It was really good fun and we learned a lot. Like we found out that she was asked to come back.
Yeah,
but
a few
she couldn't.
exclusive scoops.
Yeah, and I hope you guys, there'll be on the show notes all the charities that she mentioned and also her future play in the Sheffield Crucible and her new TV show coming next year, Flack. I said it was on UK TV. It's going to be on the W channel, just in case you wondered. So as we always end, we end on the poll of the week, which we have on Twitter and we normally post at the end of Monday's episode. The question was, when Rainey has a target in her sights, they are soon gone from Wolford. Port Ingrid and most recently Donna had to go in her eyes, but who's next on her hit list? And the options were Jack Branning, Amy and Ricky, who are Jack's kids, Mel Evans or Sharon Mitchell. Now, I was gunning for Amy and Ricky. I would like to see them packed up. And
She loves kids.
but not Amy and Ricky. I mean, we don't even know where Ricky's gone. So who do you think it was then? Who do you think won? Quick.
Mel.
It was Mel. Mel won. Everyone thinks Mel's going to get the boot with 54%. Second was actually Amy and Ricky at 31%. And then a draw for final place, which was Jack Branning and Sharon Mitchell. Thanks, as always, for voting. There'll be another poll of the week at the end of Monday's episode of EastEnders, which you can find on our Twitter, which is at EastEnders Week. You can find us on Instagram at EastEnders Weekly. You can find us on Facebook if you just do a search EastEnders Weekly. And we always enjoy getting your comments. We've been getting some really nice comments actually recently. We've been getting some nice hellos and, enjoying the show and one person said they really enjoyed my I'm Doing This Now segment, which
They
was
did. That was on Instagram.
yeah, so
yeah.
thank you ever so much,
and this one's the best one yet
it certainly was
because you weren't doing it.